morning, everybody. My name is Mango Thunderslice, and today we're going to be talking about Mr. Donald Trump, right? It's been quite a ride over the last year, hasn't it? Since November 2016, and that fateful day, right? You know, it's funny, I went back and watched a video that I made back in, like, I don't know, June of 2016. I made a video about Bernie Sanders and another one about Donald Trump, and it's funny because, you know, again, I'm not a red teamer, alright? I'm not a Republican, like, you know, I'm basically an anarchist. I believe in freedom to the nth degree, right? And, you know, it's just really funny because at this point, even while a lot of the red teamers are kind of ambivalent towards him and everybody's just wondering which way is up, I have to say that, you know, at risk of saying this in California, I really couldn't be more proud of the man. I think he's doing a fantastic job. And again, maybe this is just the way that I read into things. Like, you know, what is it they say? That people who support Trump, they take him seriously but not literally. And the people who don't like Trump, they take him literally but not seriously, right? Because if you take what he says literally, right, you're going to be bashing your head against the wall the whole time, right? But when you read a little bit deeper into what he's saying and you listen to how he's saying the words, I don't know, on a real human level, it's easy for me to understand what he's really talking about. And so I guess today we're going to be talking about continuing on from the last video and explaining all the things that have happened in Saudi Arabia. And right, we got this guy on 4chan with the, you know, anonymous poster claiming to have high intelligence clearance, and, you know, with this whole Asia trip that Trump just went on, and, you know, the whole visiting the Forbidden City in China, you know, there's a lot of really important things going on, a lot of really big stuff, and it's very exciting to witness, and I figured I'd just catch up today on where we're going. Man, sometimes my joints are really good, other times I just roll them too tight, and they don't really work very well. But anyway, so, leaving off at the last video, right, they're going to get a whole essay delivered to their door, and the essay turned out to be Saudi Arabia, right? And Q-Anon was basically posting on that in 4chan, and you guys are probably aware of this, but for those who aren't, you know, basically just like in 2016, there were these anonymous FBI agents on, you know, 4chan, posting these, you know, messages and suggesting that, like, you know, there was this whole counter coup against Hillary Clinton and that whole wing of the, you know, the corrupt wing of the government, or the more corrupt wing of the government, and, you know, basically dropping all these breadcrumbs, talking about the WikiLeaks before they even really came out, you know, alluding to these huge bombshells that came out. And here we got this new guy, you know, who's out here basically saying that there's, you know, who talked about the Saudi Arabia thing before it happened, and was alluding to these thousands of sealed indictments, right, that, you know, the pedogate, you know, stuff, is all these arrests are about to happen. And it's just very interesting. You know, there's been a lot of LARPing, you know, live action role playing, a lot of bullshit on the internet of people pretending to have secret information. They really got nothing at all. But this guy there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Again, it's one thing to, you know, just say a bunch of conspiracy stuff, but to predict the Saudi Arabian purge before it happened, that's significant. Very significant. Especially because, as we find out, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, right, Saudi royal, who's, you know, a frequent appearance on CNBC talking about the markets and stuff, right? He is one of the co-owners, along with Bill Gates, in the top 5 floors of the Mandalay Bay, which is known as the Four Seasons Resort. So basically, one of the Saudi guys that gets arrested in the purge is actually one of the co-owners of the top floors of the Mandalay Bay, which, of course, as you might remember, only a month and a half ago, was the source of a whole, you know, probable false flag terror attack, right, with the whole Stephen Paddock thing. And so it's really interesting, all these connections. You know, that right after that happens in Vegas, right, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, who owns not just the Four Seasons, co-owner of Four Seasons, he owns part of Twitter, he owns part of CNN, so it's like, and he, you know, back in 2016, he called out Trump, saying, you're a motherless son of a goat, and you're a disgrace to your country, and you're going to lose the election. And, well, you know, words, they have consequence. And actions far more so. You know, so that's really interesting. And then, well, we got QAnon coming out and basically keep dropping these things, alluding to all these, you know, arrests and stuff. You know, we had Weinstein going down. Hollywood has just totally unraveled. I mean, this is the most glorious thing. This is such a beautiful, beautiful process. It's like, while people stop and watch a train wreck, like, you know, it's just that sheer just awe of just the whole thing falling apart. All these people with such vaunted prestige and personalities just getting taken to the woodshed. I have to say that I am entertained. And this is the thing that I don't think people really get, is people get so mad with Trump. But it's a whole entertainment thing to me. It's like, I already knew that the government was a joke. All of you, not you guys, I mean, I know I'm talking to you, but all of these people, they still thought this shit was real. They still thought this was a serious enterprise. And so Trump comes out and he's basically just fulfilling the entire joke of the entire thing. And just using the bully pulpit for the most hilarious end. And while that infuriates people, it just cracks me up, man. It's hilarious. He goes over to Asia, he's talking to Putin. The reporters are asking him, and he's like, you know what? Putin says he didn't hack the election. All right, I believe him. I believe him. How many times you know he's going to tell me this? I believe him. All right, I don't think he hacked the election. It's just like these kind of comments. You just know what sort of reaction he's going to get, and it's just hilarious. But leading into the more important part of the Asia trip, right? Trump got led in, he had a state plus dinner, right? They rolled out the freaking red carpet for Trump, right? He had a state dinner inside of the Forbidden City, right? Which has not, you know, been granted to an American leader since the founding of modern China. That's not a little thing, okay? That's not a little thing. All right, and again, it alludes to the greater geopolitical framework that I've been talking about in all these videos, and, you know, I've caught some flack for, but again, I'm not trying to be, you know, a Trump-tard here. It's like, you know, I'm not about just supporting the guy, you know, against all enemies, right? If he makes a stupid decision, I'm going to call him out. But as far as I can tell, he actually seems to be, at least behind the scenes, fulfilling the will of the people on their deepest, you know, priorities. And by that I mean, you know, it's one thing to say that, oh, the swamp is, right, the Federal Reserve, right, or the swamp is, like, you know, this or that. But the swamp, right, the deepest level of the swamp is this dark cult of Saturn, this child trafficking ring, drug trafficking ring, right? The absolute apex of corruption, right, is this Black Lodge, right, these networks of human traffickers and drug traffickers, and basically this is the swamp, okay? You know, I'm all about ending the Fed and having, you know, alternative monetary systems that are more equitable to the people, but it's like, if you're upset about, you know, what's his name, Mnuchin and Jerome Powell as the new Fed head, you know, but you're not focusing at all on the QAnon leaks and, you know, basically all the sealed indictments that are supposedly about to roll out. It's like you're focusing on the wrong swamp. Okay, we'll get to the bank. First, we got to take care of the satanic child traffickers. All right, one thing after another. Give the man time. And so it's just really interesting because, you know, I said in my North Korea videos, and basically I said for months now, basically, that this is the beginning of a new world order, right? And the bromance between Trump and Xi Jinping, right, the head of China, right, is a very clear indicator of that. And the Asia trip just really confirmed that. That anybody who's talking about, oh, World War III, Trump's going to lead to World War III against China and Russia, like, you guys, surface level analysis, super lame, you guys need to step it up. Because, alright, Trump wanted to get close to Putin, and then the whole Russiagate thing happened, so he has to pretend like he's at arm's length, right? So Trump, in essence, is probably, you know, more friendly with Putin behind the scenes. He's friendly with Xi Jinping, right? He went over to Saudi Arabia and was, you know, greeted with this whole huge thing and the sword dance, and they're putting their hands on this glowing ball and all kinds of weird shit, like straight out of Lord of the Rings. And, you know, it's just really interesting to see everything that's played out because, right, the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had this whole purge, took out, you know, all the remnants of the previous king's kind of power base, and, you know, so that situation isn't done yet, but the point is that the faction that was sacked, was the faction that was gung-ho about Hillary Clinton and the DNC and John Podesta and, you know, basically funding these environmental movements to ban fracking in order to basically raise the price of oil and, you know, give them back their oil monopoly, their OPEC oil monopoly that they've been, you know, wielding like a drunken club for decades now, right? So, and then you have basically Saudi Arabia cozying up to China, China cozying up to Trump, Trump's already friendly with Putin. You're starting to see this whole new axis emerging, and it's completely different from the empire as I've described it, right? The original plan was to go to war against that axis, right? It was to create this whole encirclement, as I've detailed in other videos, but that has fallen apart, and the election of Trump was so much more than just the defeat of Hillary Clinton and, you know, some liberal tax policies, right? It's a lot more than that, and I think this is really the harvest time, if you will. We've had a whole year of positioning and dancing around and fighting, you know, Trump fighting the media and all this shenanigans, but it really feels like, you know, the dam has broken and the water is flowing, and I look forward to seeing what sealed indictments are unsealed here very shortly. And you know, it's just, I want to reiterate that despite all the shenanigans, you know, listening to Trump's speech when he came back, everybody was expecting this, like, you know, big, you know, the people who were into the QAnon posts, they were, like, expecting him to come back and be like, guess what, we're arresting Hillary Clinton and John Podesta, we're going to cut all their heads off. Like, that's, like, the message that they were expecting. But, you know, what he came back and basically said something even more important, if you had the ears to hear, which was that détente has been achieved with China, right? So this is now, they are now, just like back, you know, when Xi came and visited Trump in Mar-a-Lago, there was this whole beginning of this bromance, Trump's granddaughter sang a Chinese song to President Xi, and it's just, in China, people love Trump, right? And this is the other thing to realize, just like, here in America, we have this liberal, progressive, you know, postmodern sensibility, and we think that, like, the people who are into that, they think that, like, the rest of the world really, like, looks up to them for their, like, progressive sensibilities. They really think that, like, the rest of the world is in this communist program. They're not. The rest of the world is still in their up-and-coming phase. They don't know anything about this communist bullshit, right? They respect honor for your family, you know, personal achievement, right? Prestige, you know, basically all of the things that Trump exudes, right? And a lot of the Asian cultures, they're all about that, gung-ho. And again, it's like, we want to pretend like, oh, only the white man is racist. Like, the whole freaking world is racist. The Chinese hate the Japs, hate the Koreans, hate, you know, it's basically, and they all hate the Southern Asians, right? And we pretend like we're in this, you know, higher state by pretending like we don't have any collectivist judgments, right? But the fact is, the whole world, you know, is based on tribal lines, and, you know, we can either acknowledge that and make it fun, or we can try and deny it in the communist program and just keep battering our heads against the wall, trying to put everybody in the same box, right? I think you know where I stand. But, you know, they just respect him in Asia, right? They see, like, he's a real American to them, right? And again, it's like, what you and I think about him is one thing, but again, to their culture, like, he is very much well respected. And in China, like, if you're a Trump hater in China, like, his crew of Trump supporters in China is going to set you straight, son. Like, they love him. And I think that's just hilarious, and it just, again, this is about the Belt and Road Initiative. This is about China and the whole new world order, the whole new geopolitical order that's unfolding. And you can say, oh, everyone's controlled, and it's all just part of the conspiracy, and Trump's just, this whole thing has been contrived, but if you really just take a second and understand that nobody controls the entire planet, even the Illuminati, right? It's like, there's a limit to all human power. Right, and at a certain point, these satanic schmucks, right, these fags in this cabal, like, you know, everybody just kind of woke up to their game, like, all over the world, you know, even in the intel agencies, especially in the intel agencies, and they just said, no, we're not doing it. Fuck off. And it's just beautiful to witness. I mean, again, is there some shady dealing behind the scenes here? Of course there is, but in general, this really looks like a positive development across the board, and it is, you know, I want to reiterate, it is a function of humanity's awakening, of us raising our vibration on this planet so that we don't allow these things anymore. The reason that the feds and Trump and all these other, you know, white hats and the intel agencies can do what they do is because we are waking up, and we are giving them the support and the consent and the authorization to take the just action that they knew that they should have been taking for a long time. And so it's important to understand that this is a symbiotic relationship, and that, you know, we need to keep pressing this and just evolving this and growing this, you know, because we will reach paradise, my brothers. We've got a long way to go in this century, and it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful thing. But I'm just really excited to see the whole shenanigans of the Trump presidency playing out as it has. At this rate, I'll be voting for him again in 2020. But it's just so great. Yeah, basically we'll see what the sealed indictments come to the forefront in the coming days, and what geopolitical developments will unfold with North Korea, you know. But, you know, just like I said back then, it's the art of the deal, right? It's maximizing pressure so you can get the best deal. And, you know, there is still a potential for a war, but I do believe that the more that Trump and Xi are friendly, the more that Trump and Putin and the three of these guys are friendly, right? The big three are on the same team, the more that there's a greater chance that all of these problems are going to get resolved, right? Saudi Arabia is cozying up to China, Trump's cozying up to China, this Belt and Road Initiative, there's a real opportunity to unleash, right, the real technology that's been hidden from people on this planet, to have a monetary system that's just and equitable for all of the people on this planet. Freaking people in Zimbabwe just threw out Mugabe, and like most of them are using like cryptocurrency wallets on unlocked cell phones. They don't even have bank accounts, right? It's all happening. It's all happening right now. It's very exciting. And again, I am here to dispel the doom and gloom, and just let you guys know that it's all good. And, you know, as long as we keep taking those steps, one foot in front of the other, we're going to get where we're going. So cheers to you, President Trump, and Godspeed to all the operators out in the field who are taking that sorely needed action to set things straight and place the timeline back on the track to Valhalla, brothers. So I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Ah.